welcome to the Riyal Deal. Coming to you from the Arabiya English studios, this is your weekly bulletin bringing you all the latest business news headlines and analysis from Saudi Arabia. Coming up, during his visit to Washington, Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman agrees to increase Saudi investment in the United States from $600 billion to $1 trillion. Well, during that visit, $270 billion worth of agreements and sales are signed at the US-Saudi Investment Forum, and the US approves the sale of advanced AI chips to Saudi Arabia. We're going to be speaking to the regional president of the Chinese computer giant Lenovo about their strategic partnership with the PIF company ALAT and their new regional headquarters in Riyadh. And as Saudi Arabia's aviation sector continues its rapid expansion, we look at the importance of cargo. We'll be speaking to the flag carrier Saudia about its ambitions and its growing fleet. Diving straight into our top story, last week's official visit to the United States by Saudi Arabia's Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman at the invitation of President Donald Trump, who gave the visiting delegation a full red carpet welcome. Well, the visit, seen as significantly strengthening the 80-year-long partnership, saw US commitments on a variety of issues: the naming of Saudi Arabia as a major non-NATO ally, and a major defense deal, which included the sale of the US' most advanced aircraft, the F-35 stealth fighter jet. Well, there was also an agreement which paves the way for a potential civil nuclear power program in the kingdom. And the United States gave the green light for the first deliveries of advanced AI chips to the kingdom. Meanwhile, the Crown Prince agreed to increase Saudi Arabia's planned investments in the United States from a previous pledge of $600 billion to $1 trillion. Let's take a listen to what he said.
And I want to thank you because you've agreed to invest $600 billion into the United States. And because he's my friend, he might make it $1 trillion, but I'm going to have to work on him. But it's 600. We can count on 600 billion, but that number could go up a little bit higher, yes, or I don't know, we'll see. But we appreciate it very much. So Saudi is going to be investing at least $600 billion, and that means investments in plants, in companies, money on Wall Street, and what it really means for everybody that really counts is jobs, a lot of jobs. We have a lot of jobs. So I just want to thank you. We've been really good friends for a long period of time. We've always been on the same side of every issue.
I believe, Mr. President, today and tomorrow we're going to announce that we are going to increase that $600 billion to almost $1 trillion of investment, real investment and real opportunity by details in many areas. And the agreement that we are signing today in many areas in technology, in AI, in earth materials, magnet, etc., that will create a lot of investment opportunities.
The Saudi Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman speaking there, and before him, the US President Donald Trump. Well, at last Wednesday's US-Saudi Investment Forum in Washington, which was attended by top executives from both countries, Saudi and American firms signed some $270 billion worth of deals. Well, the oil giant, Saudi Aramco, alone signed 17 MOUs and deals with major US firms, with a potential value of more than $30 billion.
But many of you in the room are playing a key role in making these projects happen, and we're told that $270 billion in agreements and sales are being signed between dozens of companies, and that's just happening today, $270 billion. That's big stuff.
President Trump speaking there. Well, during our daily GNT show here on Arabiya English, I spoke to the former US ambassador to Saudi Arabia, Michael Ratney, who was following this visit to Washington by Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman. He told me that there had been unimaginable social and economic change in Saudi Arabia during the course of the past decade. Here's an excerpt of our conversation.
You know, the changes are sort of in two categories. Economic, there's a huge economic diversification effort going on, and also societal. And I think for somebody that visited Saudi Arabia 5, 10, 15 years ago, and then again in this recent period, that's the most dramatic change that you see. It's the most palpable thing. Saudi was famous for women being marginalized in society, for example. And now you go and Saudi women are everywhere. They're in the workforce in large numbers. They can drive. They can basically control their lives in ways that they never could before. So I think that's the most That's the most obvious thing when you step off a plane and visit the country. But there's a lot of other things as well. Saudi was never a country where you had an arts and culture scene, for example. And now there's movie cinemas and concerts and art exhibitions in a way that were once not only unheard of, but actually illegal in the country.
Yeah, and I mean, it's really striking when you look at the demographics of Saudi Arabia that 70% of the population is under the age of 35. And here we're talking about the Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman, who's just turned 40. I mean, do you attribute much of the change in Saudi Arabia to him personally and the fact that he is a leader really quite close in age to his population?
Yeah, absolutely. You know, he marks the generational shift in the leadership, although he's obviously not king yet. I think he eventually will be. All of the other kings of Saudi Arabia have been sons of the founder of Saudi Arabia, and this will be the first grandson of the founder, the first generational shift. And I think part of that, he understands the demographic that he represents. Saudi's a fairly young country, and they have the ambitions of young people. They want to be normal. They want recreation. They want jobs. They want all of those things. And I think he understands that in a really kind of palpable sense.
And that was Michael Ratney, former US ambassador to Saudi Arabia, speaking to us there. Well, as we've been saying, the US Commerce Department has authorized the export of advanced artificial intelligence chips to the Saudi AI company Humane, which plans to purchase 600,000 NVIDIA AI chips. Well, as the Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman explained, demand for computer power in Saudi Arabia is huge.
We are not creating fake opportunities to, please America, please President Trump. It's real opportunities. For example, when you ask about the AI and the chips, Saudi Arabia have a huge demand a huge need of computing power, and we're gonna spend in the short term around $50 billion by consuming those semiconductors for our needs in Saudi Arabia. And with the agreement that we're gonna have with South America, that will allow us to focus that consuming power in the short term by $50 billion from the South America, and long term with hundreds of billions of dollars in the long term. So there's a lot of real opportunities that fit to our need in Saudi Arabia and fit to our investment strategy.
Well, staying with computing power, the Chinese company Lenovo has a strategic partnership with the PIF company ALAT, and together they're establishing a manufacturing and innovation hub in Riyadh. Well, that manufacturing facility will produce Saudi-made electronics, including laptops and servers. Well, production is set to begin in 2026. Well, Lenovo Group is also setting up a regional headquarters in Saudi Arabia. And I spoke to Matt Dobrojic, who is the president of Lenovo Europe, Middle East and Africa. And he told us more about his company's plans in the kingdom.
We have a lot of exciting initiatives in the kingdom. Our partnership with ALAT was announced in May 2024. As you mentioned, it's a subsidiary of PIF. And it involves a $2 billion investment where the collaboration makes a significant milestone in Lenovo's journey towards transformation and future global expansion. Look, as part of the partnership, we're going to establish a new regional headquarters in Riyadh. But the state-of-the-art manufacturing facility is really the anchor of our strategy in the kingdom, which is going to commence production at the end of this year, but we're going to have full volume, full-scale production at the end of next year. So this facility is going to have tremendous capacity, and it's going to be one of the most advanced manufacturing facilities in the world. It's going to be our first factory to be able to produce not just PCs, but also data center server infrastructure, as well as mobile phones. So just the agility that this factory will be able to create. In addition, also reinforcing the kingdom's commitment and vision for 2030 and how we can help support that vision. I think it's an incredible partnership between our two companies, and ALAT's at the center of it, helping us make sure that we're taking advantage of all the incentives and all the localization efforts that the kingdom is focused on.
Now, Saudi Arabia's aviation sector has seen rapid expansion in recent years and has a central part to play in Vision 2030. Well, the kingdom's growing number of airlines have a key part to play in meeting the goal of 100 million visitors by the year 2030. Well, as well as the new entrants to the market, like Riyadh Air, which we've talked about quite a bit on this show, the flag carrier, Saudia, has also a growing global presence, currently transporting close to 3 million passengers every single month. That is in addition to air freight. Well, last year, Saudia transported some 578,000 tons of cargo, and Saudia aims to rank among the world's top 10 air cargo carriers by the year 2030. Well, I'm joined here in the studio by Hashim Al-Sharif, who is the Vice President of Strategy and Business Development at Saudia Cargo. Thank you very much indeed for coming to see us.
It's an absolute pleasure. Good to be here with you.
Thanks. Now, they say that cargo numbers offer you some insights as to what the situation is looking like later on down the line on the passenger side. So how is the situation for cargo right now? What are your numbers looking like?
We're seeing an increase in the demand in the last few years since the pandemic, and that there's a correlation between the increase in demand because of the large number of aircrafts and recovery after the pandemics. The movement of goods has been steadily increasing in the last few years, and we've seen a growing demand across the globe, not only in Saudi Arabia, but also beyond, and that's helped us to connect the world together.
Okay, so tell us which are the sectors that are really fueling the growth in demand.
Nowadays, it's about e-commerce. E-commerce has changed the shape of air cargo. We used to wait for months to get the shipments. Now it's a matter of days or even hours in some cases until you get the shipment from country to a country until the doorsteps of the clients.
Okay, so e-commerce is really giving operators like Saudia a massive boost when it comes to cargo volumes.
I will give you an example. Between now and 2023 and now in 2025, we have seen almost 39% growth in 2 years only. And that's mainly driven by the young population of Saudi Arabia. And we have seen the demand of e-commerce is growing into the kingdom and even beyond the kingdom.
Right, so that's a massive boost to Saudia Cargo.
Certainly.
You've got a young population in Saudi Arabia, which you mentioned as well, hence the correlation and the interest I expect with e-commerce.
Yeah.
What are your other strategic advantages, would you say? What part does geography play?
Location, location, location. We play in a strong part when it comes to connecting the world. We're sitting almost 6 hours from everywhere. We're connecting the east to the west through Saudi Arabia, and this is one of the parts we play to enable the kingdom to be a logistic hub. We transport goods from the east, from the far east, the likes of Indian subcontinent, into Europe, US, and beyond.
Okay, so let's talk about your fleet and your capacity. What have you got at the moment, and where are you planning to take that in the years ahead?
If we want to link it back to the increasing demand, we are sitting at 8 freighters today, and we have actually 2 more coming up in the next few months. So we're going to have 10 by Q1, and we're increasing demands, and there is an announcement coming soon of our plans to expand our fleet. That's when it's come to the air freighters. But we have access to over 170 belly aircrafts from Saudia and through different partners such as Sky Teams, which plays almost 20% of the world capacity when it comes to air cargo with over 850 destinations.
Okay, so you got the freighters, you got the passenger planes, and this alliance that you mentioned in the form of Sky Team. Tell us about some other partnerships you've got there at Saudia Cargo.
We have just announced a few months back our partnership with the China Cargo. They're flying to the kingdom, and we were partnering with them to ship beyond KSA. It's a huge movement to our strategic partnership going on from the east to the west and linking them together. And we are working on more signings and partnership in the future coming up. As soon as we sign them, we will announce them shortly.
Okay, and you're right in the middle, aren't you, of that traffic between east and west,
100%.
Very strategically positioned. Now, I know that specialty cargo tends to carry pretty healthy yields, high yields, I think it's fair to say.
Yes.
Some pretty unique requirements, especially when it comes to transporting pharmaceutical products and so on. What sort of an evolution, what trends are you seeing in that area?
Pharma has been always a constant, but it's required high specialty, as you have mentioned. We are certified to move pharma, lithium, dangerous goods from IATA, and that gives us an advantage when it comes to specialized and customized solutions. Pharma is becoming, it's a bit of a trend, not only now, but it's always been trend because of the sensitive time it has to be transported in. And usually it was transported from certain markets. Now we've seen an expansion when it comes to pharmaceutical from different parts of the globe, be it from raw material, be it from distribution perspective. And we are part of that, basically enabling those routes to be active throughout the world.
Okay, we talk a lot about Vision 2030 on this channel. Where do you see Saudia Cargo fitting into that and supporting that vision?
Well, we're one of the biggest enablers. We're responsible for half of the volume coming to the kingdom. And we played a major role in last year's numbers. Saudi Arabia as a kingdom surpassed a million tonnage, 1.2 if I can be more precise, throughout the kingdom. We have helped transform almost nearly 0.6 million of that volume throughout the kingdom, and we're expanding with the expansion of the fleet in the near future. We will help to reach that target a bit and in line with the goals of the kingdom, and also to enable the GDP of the country by moving and basically the whole supply chain when it comes to goods from real estate, from all of these elements, because of the transshipment of goods is all over the place.
Okay, so you're playing a really big part in that vision. We talk a lot about AI on this show, and I was thinking to myself as you arrived, what role does artificial intelligence play when it comes to your kind of operation? Are you finding a niche for it, a purpose for it when it comes to cargo ops?
Definitely. It's part of our basically strategy is to integrate AI in everything that we do. But we're doing it with basically in phases out. We're trying to utilize AI into basically calculating the profitability of a route, understanding the markets, reading the trends, where is basically the supply is going to take, how long is going to take the supply, and matching the demand from different countries, which areas that we need to focus on when it comes to developing countries versus already established market. All of these elements with AI, it gives you an advantage because it gives you time, speed, and accuracy, and access to different multiple databases.
And pricing models as well?
100%. Pricing is dynamic in our industry. So you have to be always on the run when it comes to pricing.
What's your overall outlook for air cargo when it comes to the region and more broadly for the rest of the world?
Air cargo is, we had a discussion in one of the forums. Air cargo have increased the demand significantly in the past. And people expected this is the spike. It only happened because of the pandemic. But if you look at it now, it's the consumer behavior has changed. Not only the business. People tend to shop more online than it used to be in the past. There are more apps, there are more platforms, there are more companies emerging every single day to enable e-commerce across the world. So the demand will always going to be in the rise when it comes to air cargo. There are subshipments that are becoming very sensitive to time. And the speed is a very crucial part of what they do. And this is the advantage of air cargo plays in when connecting the world together.
Yeah, when we order something online, we want to get it tomorrow at the latest.
100%.
In terms of competitiveness and keeping that growth momentum, what are your plans? How are you positioning yourself to make sure that your growth and your competitiveness are sustainable? We
are in the region where everything is growing. It's not only Saudi Arabia, but if you look at the top airlines and the top air cargos around the world, it's basically within its neighboring countries. And it's all have the logistics advantage of the location as well, but also they have ambitious goal as us. For us, we are trying to ensure that we are developing and connecting the world together by improving the services that we do, and we offering unique products. One of the things that we are focusing on is to enable Saudi export to be available at the world shelves. That's the advantage that we have, that we're basically betting on, that we can have in the market internally and domestically, that can give us an advantage versus the other competitors.
Okay, and what sets you apart, would you say, from all of the other cargo offerings in the market? What makes Saudia Cargo stand out?
It's basically the way we do business. It's a cyclical business, and we are been able to be steadily and agile in our strategy. We have seen this year a lot of cyclicality due to geopolitical disruption all across the world, but we remain steady because we have strategic agility and resilience when it comes to our company. We did not let it affect us. There are many countries that were closed their aerospace. Thank God that our countries and the kingdom policies is basically helped us to navigate through these tough times. So this is basically what we are relying on, our vision, our strategic positioning, and basically our strategic goals and objectives in the company, and our resilience in the past that helps us going into the future with agility.
And just lastly, Hashim, some of my colleagues and I were wondering, what are some of the more unusual or exciting items that perhaps you've transported on Saudia cargo?
It's not only exciting, we did it with pride. Last year, we transferred a lot of shipment and transported perishables from the kingdom and exported tomatoes and vegetables to Europe. And we found it in the European markets. And if you go to the supermarket, you will find Saudi vegetables and fruits. And that's basically was, I wouldn't say unusual, but we did it with pride for us because we know the quality of the product that we produce in this country, and having the ability to enable them and help them to be available at the global shelves. That's amazing. We also did shrimp to China, and we are working with our partners in the kingdom, one of the biggest dairy products to be available in the Chinese market as well. There's a huge demand when it comes from that market, and we are ready to help. And we have partners in China are ready for us to transport this shipment to China as well. And then will be amazing to go to different world in the part of the world, and you will find the Saudi product available at every shelf.
Okay, and before we started, you said you transported some horses every now and then, but you said that was quite normal. That wasn't particularly unusual.
That's not unusual for us. We are part of enabling the country a bigger event. We have the Saudi Cup, and we were transporting the shipments and the horses from different parts, from Liège, from different parts of Europe into the kingdom for the race. And for us, this is not unusual. Also, the biggest races that's happening in Saudi Arabia, we were basically transporting those cars into the kingdom, and next, the race will be in a different country. They will be there on time.
Well, thank you very much indeed. We really appreciate you sharing all of that with us. Hashim Al-Sharif, the Vice President of Strategy and Business Development at Saudia Cargo. Thank you very much indeed for your time.
Thank you. Pleasure.
Well, staying with the aviation, Saudia's low-cost subsidiary Flyadeal is continuing to expand across the kingdom and beyond. The all-Airbus operator has lofty ambitions with plans to triple the size of its network by the year 2030. Well, Al Arabiya spoke to Flyadeal's chief executive Stephen Greenaway on the sidelines of the Dubai Air Show.
We're only 8 years old, but what we are doing is we're moving from adolescence to adulthood, I think. We're growing up very, very quickly. So there's a lot of new aircraft coming in. We delivered 8 new aircraft this year. We'll have an aircraft almost every month next year. And it's that growth in the kingdom and us supporting that growth through aircraft deliveries and so forth that's really spurring that on, I suppose.
So hitting milestones, which is great for Flyadeal. And also, you are planning to increase its network, Flyadeal, and fleet. That's threefold by 2030. That's the plan. Have you been hindered at all by any aircraft delays and supply chain issues? And if so, has that impacted planning at all?
Yeah, absolutely. So we're sitting on 43 aircraft at the moment. 44 comes, I think, in the next couple of weeks. I lose count. And then we're getting up to 100 over the next couple of years. And that's a mix of 320s. New 321s, which will come into our fleet, and 330s, which will allow us to go long haul. But we, like every other airline, is suffering in terms of aircraft delivery delays. Our 321s were meant to be delivered next year, or start to be delivered next year. We won't see those until 2027. So a full year delay on top of already delays. You know, the 2026 delivery date was already a delay on a delay, if that makes sense. The 330s we've got coming in 2027. I literally had a meeting with Airbus yesterday, and I was just informed that not only will we get one new aircraft type in July of 2027, but we'll get 2. So we're getting our 321s, our first one being delivered in July, and our 330 being delivered in July at the same time. We will literally, from 2027 beyond, we have literally an aircraft every month or more coming into the fleet to get us up to where we need to be for 100 aircraft. So I think that's where we really do amp up.
The CEO of Flyadeal speaking to us there. We're also speaking to us at the Dubai Air Show, the CEO of Dubai Airports, Paul Griffiths. I asked him what sorts of evolution and trends he's seeing in terms of passenger numbers from Saudi Arabia. Here's what he told us.
The Kingdom represents our second largest single market, and the growth actually has been very, very impressive over the last few years. Riyadh is actually the second busiest city from DXB after London Heathrow. So we have very, very close links with the Kingdom. As I'm sure you're aware, Fly Dubai flies to a significant number of airports within Saudi Arabia. Very, very important market for us, and we see that growing probably faster than a lot of other markets.
New airports on the horizon and upgraded airports on the horizon in Saudi Arabia. New airlines being launched by Saudi Arabia. Do you welcome that, or do you see that as competition?
We absolutely welcome it. And I think the thing is, if you look at the history of the development of tourism, we've only scratched the surface in this region. And most people coming from North America or the Far East, if they're visiting Europe, they'll go to London, to Frankfurt, to Madrid, to Rome, to Milan, to all of those hotspots for tourism. Here, of course, if we've got more hotspots for tourism, and of course the Kingdom has so many fantastic attractions, then that's just going to bring more people in who want to see the whole region. We're very excited, actually, and we see this as a completely complementary enterprise.
Well, it's not just commercial airlines seeing an increase in passenger traffic, so too are private jet operators. Well, there at the Dubai Air Show, we spoke to the Middle East president of VistaJet, Mazen Obaid, and I also spoke to the company's chief business officer, Yusuf Muallim. And I asked them about the growth in this sector in the Saudi market and which routes they say are seeing the greatest demand on.
The Middle East generally, as Yusuf mentioned, has been doing 48% of growth this year, the first half, comparing with the last year. And also we have seen growth in Saudi, particularly 32% in the first half of this year, comparing with last year, which is significant. And at the moment, with this certificate of operating inside the Kingdom, we can connect people to different places, to remote locations. You can see maybe giga projects happening like Neom, Al-Ula, Red Sea. These locations are a bit challenging to reach in terms of commercial airlines. So the private jet here adding value, that's the trend we're seeing, domestically as well as internationally. We're seeing clients coming from the States and delegations as well coming to Saudi. There is an increase in Saudi being a tourist destination from Europe as well and China. And these movements also has been a reflection of tourism as well as Riyadh being a business hub in addition to Doha and Dubai. So the trend is moving very well for us in these aspects.
Okay, and is there a number one route here in the Middle East? Is there one route that's proving to be perhaps the most popular, the most profitable of all?
I think in terms of this region, in the Middle East, domestically in Saudi, Riyadh, Jeddah, Jeddah, Riyadh, and international in the Middle East, I would say Riyadh, Dubai, Dubai, Riyadh. In terms of Middle East, I think internationally,
I think London, Riyadh remains one of our busy routes as well. But we're seeing this uptick of demand locally between Dubai, Riyadh, Jeddah is probably the triangle of flux.
Senior executives of VistaJet speaking to us there. Well, also on the sidelines of the Dubai Air Show, we spoke to the CEO of Oman Air. His name is Kon Korfiatis, and he told us about his vision for transforming the Omani carrier into a more agile, profitable airline. I also asked him how Saudi Arabia is performing as a market, both inbound and outbound.
Saudi Arabia is a bit of a juggernaut, right? So, and I lived there for nearly 8 years before coming to Oman. It's got the largest local population in the GCC, the largest population in the GCC as well. It's a huge market, and it's a market that I think has very recently started its own campaigns in terms of aviation growth and the like, and the industry and the world, I think, is well aware of the targets that they have. We're not immune from that opportunity sitting in Oman, because my view on the GCC is it's actually an advantage to us to be sitting in a hot region with some of the biggest mega hubs and with markets like Saudi, in that there's a halo effect. I don't think traffic to and from the Middle East and within the Middle East is a mature market. unlike many other parts of the world which are mature markets, and our growth rates therefore at the very high end relative to other parts of the world, and that opportunity, we tap into that as well. Our own flights into Saudi Arabia, at the moment we serve, just doing a quick head count, 4 or 5 destinations. We plan to expand that, and we also plan to expand our frequencies to the ones we're currently flying as well. Those routes are doing really, really well. There's really healthy traffic between the two, so we're pleased with our services. I think, the airline, from what I've ascertained, has had various strategies over the years, and one of them was trying to be a significant transit player, and when you look at the size of the mega hub carriers that are just next door to us in the Middle East, that wasn't really a wise strategy, and that's probably the area we've made the most significant change in on the commercial side of the organisation. We've said, well, what is the USP of Oman Air and Oman itself as a destination relative to everything else that we have in the region, and the answer is it's Oman itself. Oman is an absolutely stunning country. Its tourism assets are unique and complementary to other things you will find in the Middle East, but they are unique to Oman, and they're beautiful, and for the people who know it, they're return visitors, and they speak, and they're preachers of what we represent. So we said, well, with that in mind, we need to move more to a point-to-point solution. The country itself is on an economic transition program. One of those pillars is to build tourism, and then we're building a lot of infrastructure to support that tourism growth, and of course they need a healthy, strong national airline which will bring more visitors to Oman.
And finally, Syrian artisans were amongst those taking part at the Saudi International Handicrafts Week in Riyadh. Well, this is the latest sign of many that ties between Riyadh and Damascus are warming, and Saudi Arabia has signalled its readiness for investment in Syria's reconstruction. Well, this event is also in line with Vision 2030, which highlights the economic potential of the craft sector and the role of cultural industries in international cooperation. Let's take a listen to what the Saudi organiser, Dalia Al-Yahya, had to say about this event.
For the first time, the Syrian Arab Republic is participating with us, and we are delighted by this presence. They showcased a variety of crafts, including wooden and metal works, among others. One of our goals in this edition is to create intersections between different countries and to allow local and international artisans to benefit from each other's experiences, modern techniques and designs.
Well, according to official data, the handicrafts market in Saudi Arabia is worth around $405 million. Well, that's all we have time for. Thank you very much indeed for watching The Real Deal here on Al Arabiya English. Look forward to seeing you again next week. Meanwhile, stay tuned.